The classroom was alive with chatter as students prepared for Talent Day, laughing and daring one another to perform. In the far corner sat Aisha, a quiet girl with torn shoes and a uniform patched too many times. Her small hands clutched her notebook as she prayed no one would notice her. But a group of mischievous classmates had other plans. They smirked and whispered, then shouted her name, suggesting she should sing. Laughter filled the room. The teacher hesitated but eventually agreed, calling her to the front. Aisha's heart sank. She had never performed in front of anyone. Singing was her secret, something she shared only with her mother while folding laundry at night. Now, standing before mocking eyes, she felt like her world was collapsing. She walked slowly, her head lowered, her stomach tied in knots. The class giggled, waiting for the joke to unfold. She stood frozen, trembling, feeling smaller than ever. Yet somewhere deep inside, a flicker of courage whispered to her. She thought of her mother's tired smile, of nights singing on their rooftop to the stars. With a shaky breath, she closed her eyes, letting the classroom fade into silence. At first, her voice emerged soft, fragile, like a whisper carried on the wind. The room leaned in, ready to laugh. But then the melody grew, richer and stronger, filling every corner with a power no one expected. The students froze, eyes wide, their laughter stuck in their throats. The teacher's pen slipped from her hand, landing silently on the desk. Aisha sang as if the world around her had disappeared, as if she was standing under the open sky again with her mother beside her. Every note carried the weight of her struggles, the loneliness of poverty, and the unbroken strength of hope. The children who once mocked her now sat stunned, caught in the spell of her voice. The raw emotion in her singing pierced through them, reaching places words could not. Even the pranksters who had set her up felt guilt rise in their chests. The classroom, once filled with giggles, became a sacred space. And when her song climbed to a trembling high note, echoing like a prayer, it felt as though time itself had stopped, holding its breath to honor the poor girl's hidden gift. When the final note faded into silence, no one moved. The air was heavy, filled with a silence that felt almost holy. Aisha opened her eyes slowly, expecting ridicule, but instead saw a sea of stunned faces. For a moment, she thought they were still mocking her. Then, a single pair of hands clapped softly. Another joined. Soon, the room erupted in applause that shook the walls. Students stood, cheering, clapping, some even with tears in their eyes. The same children who had called her to embarrass her now looked at her with respect. Aisha's lips trembled as she tried to smile, still unsure if this was real. She had come expecting humiliation, but instead she had captured every heart in the room. Her teacher, wiping away a tear, whispered, "That was extraordinary, Aisha." For the first time in her life, she felt visible, heard, and worthy. She returned to her seat slowly, her heart pounding, her classmates watching her not as a target of jokes, but as someone carrying a rare gift. That day, the poor girl had transformed her pain into power, leaving everyone speechless. That evening, one of the teachers uploaded the video online. While Aisha and her mother sat in their dimly lit room folding laundry, the world outside was listening. Her voice reached strangers she had never met, people from different cities, even different countries. The video spread like fire, shared across phones and computers. Comments poured in, "This girl is an angel. Her voice healed something in me." Listeners wept though they did not know her story. Meanwhile, in her small home, Aisha sang quietly to herself, unaware of the thousands of hearts she had already touched. Her mother noticed the glow on her daughter's face and asked softly, "Why are you smiling, Beti?" Aisha shook her head, holding the secret close, but inside, a seed of hope had been planted. For the first time, she imagined a future larger than her narrow street, a life where her voice might carry her beyond the walls of poverty. The next day at school, the atmosphere had changed. No one mocked her anymore. Instead, classmates gathered around, eager to speak to her. Even those who once laughed at her now avoided her eyes, ashamed of their cruelty. The teacher announced in front of everyone that Aisha had been chosen to represent the school at the district competition. She couldn't believe her ears. Her hands covered her mouth as she tried to process the news. The same girl they once ignored was now carrying the pride of the whole school. That evening, she shared the news with her mother, who pulled her into a tight embrace. "You see, my child," her mother whispered, "sometimes life hides our gifts until the right moment. Now the world will hear you." Aisha cried into her mother's shoulder, but they were not tears of sadness. They were tears of joy, of relief, of dreams finally beginning to bloom. Weeks later, she stood on a brightly lit stage at the district competition. Her heart raced, her knees shook, but then she saw her mother in the audience, wearing her old shawl, standing proudly. That sight gave her strength. She closed her eyes and began to sing. Her voice soared, stronger than ever, filling the auditorium with breathtaking beauty. The audience leaned forward, mesmerized, the judges exchanging glances of awe. When she finished, silence fell for a brief, eternal second, then the hall erupted in thunderous applause, louder than anything she had ever heard. The crowd rose to their feet, clapping, cheering, some wiping away tears. Aisha bowed her head, overwhelmed, knowing her life had just changed forever. The poor girl who was once mocked had found her destiny. She didn't just win the competition, she won respect, opportunity, and a future built on her gift. Her voice had carried her from laughter to applause, from invisibility to recognition. And from that day on, whenever she sang, the world listened.